Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Eagles on Air through the Sportanarium stream, and tonight we are joined by Rob and Mike, Brighton fans. Rob, what's your handle on Twitter, mate?
Lock Small.
And Mike?
North Stand Seagull.
So Lock Small and North Stand Seagull. Feel free to give these guys a follow. They've got good banter. They support Brighton, so that means they have got good banter.
I thought you could say send abuse then, Steve.
Yeah, send abuse as well. Yeah, good shout. But yeah, welcome to the show, guys. And yeah, we're gonna be talking tonight about Monday's game, and we're going to be talking all things Crystal Palace and Brighton. So, what's first on the agenda, Ben?
The message that Hodgson got left by the Ultras. Start with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real difficult one. He needs to start listening to the fans, and that message is as clear as day. But the fact that the guy turned around and said he doesn't believe that there's a problem with the players and there's a problem with desire, I just can't get my head around that, boys. Really can't.
It's complacency, wasn't it?
He's kind of just like sweep it under the carpet. He's doing his best to do that.
He's just oblivious, isn't he? He's just oblivious to what the fans want. I mean, crikey, I mean, you only have to look at the way that
he wouldn't be there if the fans were allowed him.
100%. But I mean, you have to look at the way Brighton are playing. I mean, I've seen a bit of criticism for what is defined as potable, but the way the ball's played around, I mean, it's good to watch. You can't deny that. And even as a Palace fan, I'm happy to admit the fact that when I watch football all levels. But you know, when I watch a game that Brighton are playing in, you just think, crikey, you know, and it just goes to show they've beaten Liverpool, they've beaten Spurs, they've beaten Leeds, and that those results, they're not flukes.
No, definitely not. Well, you watched the Wolves-Leeds game yesterday. Wolves actually took it to Leeds, and Leeds didn't know what to do. It's just a complete difference between Palace and Leeds. Palace and Wolves.
And that's the thing we've mentioned before, Mike, Rob, we've mentioned before that we win games, we win them convincingly when the players ignore what Hodgson wants. So the 4-1 against Leeds, the 5-1 against West Brom, the 3-1 against Manchester United. I mean, no one would have said, oh, you're going to beat Leeds. No one would have said that you're going to beat Manchester United. Not convincingly like that anyway, especially. It's when they obey what Hodgson, you know, drums into them that we struggle, and I just fear for you guys running at us on Monday night.
Well, we all mentioned, didn't we, that the scoreline would probably be 2-0 Brighton on the last podcast.
From an outsider's point of view, is that because Hodgson's not a man manager? He's a tactician. The kind of squad you've got, like Will Zaha, he needs an arm around him. Let's be honest, that's what he needs to get the best out of him. I don't think Hodgson's that kind of guy, is he? I don't know, you have to tell me, obviously. I don't follow that closely or not, but it seems to me for all of his career, it's been like a tactical guy, not a man person.
Yeah, that's really evident because apparently he said that he preferred his favourite manager to be Ian Holloway, and I can imagine him being a man-to-man sort of one-to-one manager, arm round, like you said. So yeah, well,
it's quite interesting, Rob, that your first thing that you said about Hodgson was, is it because he's a tactician? And I think that's a real polite description of Hodgson, because tactically, I wouldn't suggest that Hodgson's a tactician, because his tactics aren't even there. His tactics are just horrific. You know,
I'd like to know what his tactics are, mate, to be honest. I really would. Because my mind's blown every time I watch Palace play.
The difficult thing for us, I mean, if you boys were Palace fans, you'd see what we see. And it doesn't matter who you play in this league. Anyone can beat anyone. We've seen that.
Totally.
And if you're going to sit there in a game and say, do you know what? We'll sit back for 85 minutes. We'll try and hit you on the break. We'll try and get some counter attacks in. and clinical and Palace isn't something that ever correlates together nicely. It's a complete mismatch of words. So when we do get those attacks or those opportunities, we can't finish for toffee. And I know you guys are struggling as well for finishing. I mean, you spent 20 million on Morpay, and his returns haven't been great at all, to be fair.
Yeah. When we signed Morpay, like a lot of the Brentford fans said, he gets sort of 20 chances and he'll score one. He's that sort of player, always been that sort of player. In the Premier League, you don't get that many chances as you do in the Championship. So he's always going to be like that. I think with him, though, it's the supporters with him. We've got too many people that are not firing. So we build-up play is brilliant. We get to the box and then we're just not converting the chances. If you look at our stats, chances we're creating are brilliant. But, I mean, getting back to you guys, the team you got, you've got a good team. You've got some that are old and getting on. But, I mean, you've got players like Eze, who's such a great player. And it'd be a shame to see someone like that stifled under, like, Hodgson's management, because he's such a flair player, such a really good player. Watched him a lot in the Championship. And he's a player that I really wish we had gone for. And it's just a shame, obviously a Brighton fan, so in some ways it's not a shame, but it is, seeing you guys sort of frustrated with the way you're playing, because we had a bit of that under Houghton towards the end. We love Houghton and we love all that he's done, but tactics were kind of similar, stifling a lot of players, and there was a bit of backlash when we lost to Bournemouth and Cardiff, and a lot of people were really turned against him at that point. So we've seen a similar kind of thing going on with that. And then Tony Bloom obviously moved in a completely different direction. But yeah, I think with Morpay, he's always going to be that player where he gets loads of chances, just doesn't convert everyone he gets.
Problem you've got the same problem as us with your recruitment is. I might be in a bit harsh. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me, but I think your recruitment's really poor, just like ours is. Because, I mean, if you look at what's his name, Youngbach, isn't it?
Youngbach.
Youngbach and Morpay. You spent £38 million on those two players, and I think they've returned back about, I don't know, 15 goals in two and a bit seasons.
Yeah.
And equally, for some weird reason with us, and we've chatted about this before, we're happy to spend big on a defender like we did with Sacco, but we don't really seem to be happy to spend big on a striker, and we haven't replaced the goals that Glenn Murray really got us and Andy Johnson prior to that. And equally, just going off Pete slightly, I don't think there's any strikers out there to buy that for clubs like us. And you look at West Ham, they spent £45 million on Haller. He got a couple of goals. He scored an unbelievable goal against us, which typically that's what West Ham do. And then they sold him for, what was it? I think it was like 17 million to Ajax. So they've hemorrhaged like nearly 30 million on him. But that's what that money gets you. It doesn't get you a lot. So, from that point of view, there is no one coming through striker-wise, and there's no one coming through defender-wise. I mean, you've got Ben White, who potentially could do something. Chelsea have got Tomori, who potentially could do something, but if he does well at AC Milan, they can turn the move into a £27 million move. But there's no defenders coming through, and there's no strikers. So recruitment-wise, it's really difficult for teams like us when there is someone who's a bit of quality. You've got to pay 45, 50 million for him, and both teams can't afford that.
I think a lot of clubs go for that kind of money ball kind of thing. They try and pack the squad out for as cheap as possible, and they try and make the squad equal more than the sum of its parts with the players that they've got. So if you look at Brighton, predominantly set up as a defensive club with one or two outlets, and that's not about signing Adam Lallana. You wouldn't put him in the same mould as a number 10. He's a deep-sitting midfielder, right? And that's what they try and do. You can see what they're doing. They're trying to keep themselves in the Premiership by building a defensive squad. And as you say, when a striker comes up, they're not going to go for the big money. They'll go for 20, 30 million if they're lucky and get what they can and nick the odd goal here and there. And it starts to show towards the end of the season because the bigger clubs obviously have got a real depth with strikers that they can call on. Obviously,
Does your frustration lie with ours that you're just not doing as good as you could be doing?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just goes to show, didn't it? Ollie Watkins. I mean, we had a situation. I'm sure I read it. I'm sure we put in a bid of like 7, 8, 9 million, something silly like that, about 4 seasons ago or something. And then we backtracked out of it. I'm sure something come out about that. I can't recall the detail, but we could have got him back then, but we never pulled it through.
Pushed it.
But like Villa signed him for 30 million, and that's out of both clubs' grasps. I mean, I don't know whether we can't afford it or whether we just are willing not to spend the money. I mean, you guys have spent a lot of money on a lot of players that have done pretty much next to bugger all. And now, obviously, there's a huge debt that Tony Bloom's built up. But at least you've got someone behind you that has been willing to spend the money. We've got 2 owners from America that are worth £3 billion. They don't spend a penny.
But again, I think when you look at the spending, again, it's squad players. They've gone for squad players all the time.
Yeah.
One sparkling signing, one real out of this world central midfielder or striker. They haven't. And you know, you sort of brought up Ben White. Leeds wanted him, and they got the best out of him. He's come to us, and you know, he had a fantastic season last year in the Championship with Leeds, and there's no reason why he couldn't have cascaded through the Premiership. But because of the squad and how they're set up, they're not getting the best out of him. I mean, he brought the ball forward out of the defence last year quite a lot. At Brighton, he's not really allowed to, is he, Mike? He seems to be stopped, and you've got to knock it around 3 or 4 times first. Michael.
Yeah, he's rotated in between centre half and midfield, hasn't he? So he's, I mean, Ben White's best position, I think if you spoke to Leeds fans, was in a back 4, like last year. He's come into a back 3, and then when obviously he's needed to go in the centre midfield. So I think it's that kind of juggling isn't helping what you're seeing on the pitch.
But is your frustration the same as ours? That our manager mentioned about injuries, that your squad's just not strong enough. You just think that other players, if someone gets injured, that's your chance, kid. Go and prove yourself. But it's just not happening. They're just not stepping up to the mark.
Mike?
I think we've had games where that has happened. I think it's getting better with us, but obviously you're competing on a completely different levels with other teams. You know, the squads that other teams got, like you say, is just so much bigger and deeper than ours. So there are certain key positions. If you lose a player in that position, you're kind of trying to put someone who doesn't normally play in that position there. Potter's done that a few times, and it's worked. Against Arsenal, it completely didn't work, and we got absolutely stuffed by Arsenal. So you know, I think you're right with the depth, and that is a frustrating thing. But it's as Steve said, it's a money situation. It's, you know, I think COVID isn't helping. You know, but it's spending money in the right areas. We all want our teams to go out and spend money on a sort of striker, which just isn't going to happen. You're competing against Villa, who's got millionaires who are spending money and bunging 30 million on a striker that's in the Championship.
I've got a funny feeling they're going to be like Sheffield United next season, though.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
I don't know if they will. I mean, the quality that they bought, I mean, that Traore is absolute class. Ollie Watkins, yeah, he's been scoring loads of goals. He's been doing well. All the while, they keep people like Grealish and McGinn and stuff like that. I think they're going to be mid-table and above easily.
I think Grealish should go Man United at some point.
He'll go somewhere else. I love that's I love that at Brighton. That kind of guy, that one player that might do sod all for 89 minutes, and then just that 1 minute, he can really go at a back 4 and create something. We haven't got that. That's what that one spark, that one bloke who can come in and do that. If we,
watching him against Man City, some of the passes he was playing on the counter attack were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But that's typical in the Premier League, isn't it? You know, there's a number of teams that have just got that one player that everything revolves around. Palace is Zaha, always has been for a fairly long while. Villa, Grealish, Wolves, Jimenez. Spurs, Kane, you know, and if you lose those players, you see their form being very erratic and they can't seem to win them. We've not been able to win in, I think it's 20 games, isn't it, that Wilf's not played? We've lost 18 of them.
Crazy.
You know, I think you guys will be wetting your lips at the fact that Wilf probably isn't going to be playing on Monday.
Nice if he's not. But
We reckon he'll be there.
In fact, I wouldn't even bother sending a team down. Just concede. It'll be a lot less painful.
Yeah, well, I mean, painful for us is things like Hodgson ignoring what the fans want. You know, you couldn't miss that banner that the Homestyle Fanatics put up outside the training ground. I mean, the message is clear, and for him to say that there's no complacency and that the players are fully behind it, I think the facts of the matter are they're not behind Hodgson. He's I wouldn't say he's lost the dressing room. I don't think he ever had it. I think he's just a respected gentleman, and that's the way he's seen. It's not like you wouldn't expect Hodgson at half time to throw some F and Jeffs into the team.
He's not that kind of person, is he? No.
I just don't see
you
that.
talk about complacency, right? You look at our results recently. There is a lot of complacency in players that are just not performing. So when he comes out with something like that, it just absolutely throws me off. I don't get what he's saying when he comes out in his interview and says that, because it's just woeful.
Yeah, because you watched the interview earlier, didn't you, Ben? I didn't see it.
Yeah.
What did the ultras say to him? What was the ultras thing and the banner say? Sorry, from an outside.
It was about pride and passion. About no passion, no pride.
Okay.
It was put outside the training ground, but
yeah, I've got it here. So, losing games without a fight, flair players shackled in negative formations, a lack of leadership and pride on the pitch. This is not the Palace way. Our safety-first approach is being exposed, and our spineless defensive tactics show no ambition or vision. Unused spaces on the subs bench instead of adding youth players to the first team bubble highlights the lack of inspiration. Consolidating just above the relegation zone with no plan for progress is not sustainable and breeds a negative atmosphere. This and the continued disregard for cup competitions shows a lack of respect towards supporters. We must reevaluate our long-term vision and use this opportunity with so many contracts expiring to make substantial changes across the club to rebuild with the spirit and mentality of the promotion squad. Committed winners, fighting for the shirt, attacking football and youth put front and centre, at the very least given a genuine chance. A transfer policy based around young championship players and others desperate to make an impact, not overpaid marquee signings. Restore the positive values and together we will push forward. Anyone not aligned with these should not be involved. The committed supporters deserve better. The club is sitting on a huge potential, but apathy is limiting ambition. Brighton next Monday will expose those who care and those who don't.
Isn't that good? Wow.
Blimey.
Yeah, that's quite something.
Well, I've started my new job on Monday, and I thought I'm not going to watch the game because I don't want to be in a bad mood for Tuesday. So that's where I'm at.
But you know, I'll revert the subject slightly to a very good point that the Homestyle Fanatics made, which was about youth. And Alex will back me up on this because Alex takes a big interest in the young players that we've got. And we've got this kiddie. His name, if I get it right, is David Omilabu. So he was in the under-18s for Palace, and he got promoted to the under-23s because he'd scored, I think it was 11 goals in 10 games. I'm sure he's 18 or 17, something like that. He's come in and he's played, I think it's one game or two games for the under-23s, and he scored 2 goals and 2 assists. Now, we've got a real bad history when it comes to the youth side, and we only ever call on it when we've got a crisis injury-wise. So we pulled on Wan-Bissaka and he came through. And obviously he was quality, and 50 million later, which we still haven't spent that money either. And then we've had another injury crisis, and we called in Tyrick Mitchell, and he's quality, and Arsenal are sniffing around him. So we've got a track record of not using them, but when we do use them, we've got a track record of them, they're actually quality players. So it really does sort of question the fact of what quality is sitting in the youth. And if this kiddie has scored 13 goals in 11 games, get him in. Give him a go. Give him a chance.
It just shows that there's always a knee-jerk reaction with putting youth in. Just look at Brandon Pierrick. Wow, he absolutely took the fan base by storm, and everyone saw he's going to be maybe featuring another 3 or 4 games, and all of a sudden just got shut out as soon as PVA came back.
We keep loaning players out to League One and League Two clubs. Yeah. It's not good for them. It gives them some sort of, mainstream adult kind of competitive football, and gives them a chance to play. But if they're good enough and they're showing it, I mean, we're top of the under-18 league, Palace. The under-23s are doing brilliantly, but not one of them's being given a chance.
If there's no passion and desire being shown, then put the kids out there. Let them try and prove themselves.
Yeah, because and that's quite an interesting point Ben made. Because prior to your 4-game run that you guys had, where you picked up those 5-game run, picked up those 3 wins and 2 draws, I see a lot of people, a hell of a lot of people, slating Potter, saying he's not giving people a chance to come through. He's not giving the youngsters a chance, and he's really kind of one-track minded. And equally, now you've had that run, there's a lot of positivity. I mean, fans can be fickle, we know that, but at least you've got someone that thinks differently. We don't. We have someone who's got one plan only, and cannot diversify from it, and thinks that we can win games like that.
Master Will.
Yeah, one of the reasons why Potter was brought in, that Bloom went for Potter, was the development of youth players. Exactly what you're saying. So we've seen players go out on loan like you have, but players like Ben White, who are now, we're seeing the fruits of that. So necessarily going out on loan necessarily isn't a bad thing, as long as there's a purpose to that. So Ben White's come in. We signed young players from other teams like Tariq Lamptey, who's a brilliant player, We've got Taylor Richards, who's on loan at Doncaster at the moment. So we've got a real positive youth policy going on at the club, and Graham Potter's obviously been given that remit to bring these players through. And that's one of the exciting things that's happening at our club. You're always going to get the fans who want an instant solution to results. That isn't why Potter was brought in. It's a long-term project. And you're going to start seeing that, and in the way we play, they sign players that are moulded into that style of football. I was reading an interview with one of the youth players, and they were saying right from early doors, they're told to pass the ball around from the back and keep passing it around. So they're always shaped into the way we play. If there's a purpose to it, loan them out isn't a bad thing. But, you want to start seeing those talents coming through. And I can understand how frustrating that would be if that isn't happening, at your club.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah, as I said, me and Alex, we speak a lot about the youth aspects of Palace, and no one gets given a chance. You can't even. They're not even given a chance to be on the bench. All right, they might not even get any minutes, but I think. Alex referred to Pierrick. Pierrick is quality young little player. He was given 8 minutes at the end of last season when Hodgson said he was going to give all the youngsters a go, and he didn't. And he turned around and said that Pierrick should buy him a bottle of red wine for his 8 minutes. I mean, a bit weird.
Nice touch.
That's brilliant.
Give him a bottle of Echo Falls.
Al, can't quite hear you, mate. Go nearer the computer.
Oh, I do.
No, it's exactly the same. The
better.
speaker's fine. What I was going to say is just give him a bottle of Echo Falls, and I hope he'd be happy with it. Next time, he'd probably want a case.
Yeah. Should we talk about tactics on Monday then, Ben?
Or lack of.
What do we think we're going to do? Do we think it's just going to be same old, or will we be shocked and see something different?
4-4-2, I think. I can't see anything beyond 4-4-2.
What with Marteta pairing up with who?
I think it'd be Bisway Batunke again. I don't think Mateta's going to touch the squad. I think he'd put Eze out on the wing again. Maybe Ayew on the right. I'm dreadful. I really hope that bandana the message that the Ultra put out really puts a firework up the arse of the players, because at the minute I'd put money on Brighton winning.
I don't know. It could be an opportunity for Ayew. I mean, how did Ayew get on against you lot last season at the Amex?
Then I blanked it out.
Nothing. Didn't need it. Let it go.
How do you see your tactics?
We play the same way all the time, playing out from the back, try and get it wide, not scoring goals. But we play the same way. It'd be probably 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, and then 2 up front, or maybe something like 3 up front.
I wouldn't worry too much, because Burnley had only scored a handful of goals before they played Palace.
Yeah, but then we should have got beaten by Burnley, so there you go.
I think this season's a very random season. Everyone's beating everyone. It's crazy. It's a bit weird, really. Other than Man City, who are just flying now.
I know you guys are down on this game, but like this game is, some of the players out there, regardless of what you think, do know what it means to the fans, and we've seen that in the past. We've seen that, and it becomes an unpredictable game in that sense. I mean, the one at Palace last year when I went, we for about 70 minutes of playing brilliant football and 1-0 up, looked like we're going to coast it, and then Zaha comes and scores, and it's then goes to a 1-1. So these games you just can't tell. It's one of those games, and Hodgson, regardless of what you think, knows what the game means to fans as well. So it's always one that makes me nervous, and I'm not as confident as I would be in other games, to be honest.
I would be.
Yeah.
I just want to see a performance. I really do. I think there's going to be a red card in the game, if I'm honest. But I want to see a performance.
That's all we ask for. If we lose, we play with your heart. Absolutely have a go.
What's that about?
That's probably the best way to silence me.
Mike, is that your dog or your missus?
No! Oh, it's a bit harsh.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to take this up to. I've got 3 dogs in here, and every time someone comes through the door, this one just goes mental. It doesn't matter who it is. It's like.
But like you say, Al, all we want to see, it's not a case of losing a game. It's losing a game and thinking we could have got something out of that game. And the last couple of games, it's not even a case of that. It's not even a case we could have got a point. It's like we just handed 3 points out, like we're giving to the needy.
Yeah.
Bizarrely, though, I was trying to think. When was the last top quality game between us? It's always been a bit sort of etchy and a bit kind of bland and a bit kind of sort of boring at times, isn't it, between us with the odd goal here or there?
When we won 3-1, that was pretty good.
I don't remember that.
That man, Glenn Murray, right?
Yeah, Mr. Murray. Bless him.
Mr. Murray, what a legend.
Yeah, absolutely.
If only he was 10 years younger, it's a right favour.
Yeah.
Just gonna go on to another item that needs covering for the Palace aspects. Al, Ben, what are our thoughts on Mateta? Because the guys come on, he signed on to us. He's had 3 games where he's just sat there and watched the whole 270 minutes. He's come on had a game where he got no service, and then he's been given 16 minutes and done nothing because he was given nothing.
It looks bad on him, doesn't it, when he's getting no service? But he can't. He's not a miracle player. He's just jumped in this league for the first time in his career. I think he's just got to get used to it. I can give him a few more games, and
I just we're not creating enough, Steve. We're creating 2 to 3 chances in the game.
yeah.
It's like even if we had Aguero, we'd be like the win. You can't expect miracles from players like that. You can't.
From his perspective, though, he's got 14 games to prove something, isn't he? Because we're going to turn a I think it was a 2.7 million loan move into potential. I think it was 13 million or something deal, but it's rendered pointless because if you don't score for us, are we going to go and make that move permanently? I can't see it.
I shouldn't think we would do. I wouldn't think so. He's got to prove. He's got something to prove right now. Maybe he might turn up the next 2 games, and if he does, good luck to him, and hopefully he does.
But how can he prove if we're only creating 2-3 chances a game? How can you, as a striker? Well, I mean, last 2 games we created 3 shots on target.
And I think also Batshuayi's getting the chances to play now because that's part of his loan agreement. He's got to play a certain number of games, so he's all of a sudden he's getting chosen before him. That's going to affect him even more, isn't it?
But I don't mind that as long as he stays in the box. He's a player in the box that you want to see have 2 touches and hit the ball. I don't want to see players like him coming back and try and make passes. It's not his game.
That's if he can stay on side, because I think he really doesn't understand the offside rule.
But I think that just grows from the frustration of being in a good position and not getting the ball.
There's no crossing. No one's crossing at all to give him a chance.
Well, I don't think he wants to cross. I think he wants the ball to feet in the box, and I think he wants to turn the player into the ball. And he's not getting that. We're not creating that. I think there's a lot of frustration throughout that whole team, and even the poll I put out about Hodgson. If we lose to Brighton, sack him or win and keep him, and everyone went for 1/5 went for win and keep him. But if it's not Brighton and I put it down as Fulham, would the result be the same? I don't think it would.
Do you think Hodgson's sackable?
I want him to be. I really want him to be because.
Do you think the reason why we're not sacking him is because we haven't got the money to spare to pay him off?
Well, I said that last week. Yeah, I don't know.
We might as well call him on fire to the end of the season.
The thing is, right, he's been brought in to keep us up. So if he keeps us up, he's done his job. That's it. That's our ambition right there. Keep us up in the league.
That's not bad for ambition for the 8th consecutive season.
But then people pipe on. I saw a tweet about all his achievements, what he's done in the club, and it's like, all right, yeah, fair enough. But at the minute, it's going really wrong. We've derailed. We've seriously derailed, and it's time for something new. Because if we lose to Brighton, he still won't get a sack. I think the Fulham game really is going to be the one.
If we lose to Brighton and Fulham, does he get sacked then, or do you think Parrish still bottles it?
He's got to. He has to. Yeah.
Because last season, when we had that 7-game run towards the end of the season, where we didn't pick up anything, and then this season what have we won? We've won once in. Oh no! Sorry, twice in 11 games, isn't it now?
Well, he talked about his record in the interview, and he spiced it up better than what it was, to be honest. Because I listened to it and I thought, man, that don't sound right to me. So I looked at the games, and he had got it wrong. But at the minute, it's not looking too bad. But a loss against Brighton, a loss against Fulham, then it's looking pretty bad.
He must have been looking at Chelsea's form in the last 11 games.
Anything Roy's got
Possibly.
Is his vinyl Beatles collection.
This is what we have to put up with, Rob and Mike. It's the football we play is just so bad. It's just so bad. There's no, like, everyone knows, and we've said it loads of times in the previous shows, we say it all the time. Attack is the best form of defence. The natural disposition, any time any one player gets it, is to defend and go backwards. Is how can you score a goal if you don't go forward and you don't take a shot? I mean, what is it now? It's 7 games now, isn't it, without a shot? Out of what we're on 24 games, aren't we now? Yeah, 24 games.
Well, it's like I said about the Wolves Leeds. Wolves took the game to Leeds, and Leeds didn't know what to do, and that's the difference between other teams. You take the game to another team, and you're asking questions rather than we just sit back and go on then. Oh, we conceded 2 goals. Oh, we're not going to score. That's the end of that game.
And that is the main problem, Bob. Like even when we go 2-0 down, like we did to Burnley, he just kept the same tactic, didn't change it up, and put on a defensive midfielder.
What's so frustrating for me is it's like, oh, the second half was better, and it's like, but the game's been put to bed by then. Yeah. It's like they're on holiday now because they're winning 3-0, 2-0. They don't care. Look, they've seen our threat for the first half and thought, yeah, go on then, you can have the ball.
We don't do much with it when we do try and have the ball. We can't retain it enough to have that threat on like forward players. But when we do, it's very scarce. And it's like we've got to have backs to the wall for the next 20 minutes until we get another chance of that.
I think the point of this is that we'd all take a point right now against Brighton when realistically, an informed Palace team, we should all be going, we want 3 points from this game.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
Alex, you missed the point that Mike made before you came on, and he was saying that he's watched a lot of Eze in the Championship with QPR, and he said where he does best is when he's given that free rein, that free roll, and he just goes wherever he wants, rather than being fixed in a certain position, which Hodgson's trying to do, especially with Wilf being out. He's just trying to replace him into that area, which doesn't work for him. And Mike said that if Eze is allowed to do what he does normally do, then that could cause some significant problems. And that's an opposing fan saying that. Do you know what I mean? It's if an opposing fan can see that and recognise that, the very reason they bought the guy, surely Hodgson can see that.
He has to be played as a cam, and if you don't play as a cam, you're wasting him. He's not a winger. We all know he's not a winger. He has to play as a cam. He has to.
We all know, apart from one person, that's the most important person.
Who do we think are the danger people for Brighton? Where do you think the danger is going to come from them?
I think they're going to have more shots than us, and if you have more shots, you're going to produce more chances, and I think that's going to be our downfall.
I think their danger players are Basuma and Trossard. Obviously, Lewis Dunk is a danger, but in a different meaning.
Different sort of danger,
Definitely different danger.
Sorry, boys, I couldn't resist. But being serious, I think. I know we spoke a bit about recruitment and it just not being good enough at both clubs. I think you did hit the jackpot a little bit with Tross. I think he's top draw player. What did you sign him for? It was only about, I'm sure it was like 12 million or 15 million or something silly like that.
I think it's about 15. Yeah, it's about that sort of price.
Where did you get it from? Was it Belgium or Holland?
Yeah, he come from Belgium. I think it's Bruges. Yeah.
What's Club Bruges, isn't it?
Bruges, yeah.
Yeah, he's a quality player. I think Basuma. I think this is Basuma's last season at Brighton. I think you're going to lose him in the summer.
Yeah, I think most of us are resigned to that he's going to go. He's going to go for a hefty fee, but he is a key for us. If you can get hold of the midfield and him, then you've got a chance because he has been driving us forward this year. He's such a good player. Like my player of the season, definitely.
I think you've got another quality player, which he's been doing quite well. What's his name? Is it McAllister, isn't it? What's his name?
Yeah, the Argentinian lad. Yeah, the Scottish Argentinian, don't
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks decent. He looks decent.
Lovely touch on him. Lovely little first touch on him.
I think they're your main outlets. I don't see us having any problems with anyone that you have up front, and I don't think equally you'll get much problem our end. Oh, you might do, who knows? But I think your main problem will be Eze and what he does, and equally for us what Trossard does. You know, but Trossard kind of in one game he's brilliant, another game he's not really there.
No, definitely.
As they've got to have that positivity of getting the ball and picking it up and driving at players, because it's no good him getting the ball and playing it back like we've seen so many times. He needs to drive at people and ask questions, which for me he doesn't do enough.
I was going to ask you boys, why did you? I mean, everyone was lauding Ryan up last season, so he was absolutely unbelievable for you, and then all of a sudden this season you've let him go on loan. I was quite surprised by that. You know, has he fallen out with the manager? Has he got a bad attitude, or was he just not performing? I don't know. What's the story behind that?
I've got my own take, but Mike can go first on that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, a few games he was a little bit dodgy in a few of the games we had early season, and I think there's rumoured to be a bust-up between him and Mope. They both dropped one game and they were both out. I don't know whether that carried on. Who knows? But I don't know whether you saw the interview he gave recently, but it wasn't great. He was basically saying, I'll sign for Brighton. It's just a stepping stone to go on for bigger things. You know, and that was always my intention. So that didn't go down too well either. So, and I think we lucked out with Sanchez. I saw him a few times in the 23s, and you could see he's a quality keeper. He commands the area. He's prone to the odd mistake because he's a youngster, but he dominates the area. And I think that sort of goes through the back line. You know, they've got far more confidence in getting the ball off him, giving the ball back to him. Matty Ryan on the ball was, every time he got the ball, you're like, oh fuck, basically. You just, what's he going to do with it? And normally it like went out like into the stands. So I think that's my view. I don't know what Rob thinks on that.
Oh, I was going to say is distribution. Certainly, it's the way that Potter wants to play. Potter wants to hold the ball. He wants to keep the ball. He wants to move the ball through the team. Matty Ryan would spank it 40 yards, throw it, and also as well, a bit of a vampire. And the Sanchez lad, he goes for the ball and collects the ball. Ryan was scared of crosses. He wouldn't come off his line for crosses ever. And for a team, apart from probably who's the Pompey lad the ex-Pompey lad that's quite tall. Who's the guy? Yeah, him. We're not fantastically tall as a back four or back three, and you need someone to come for that ball at corners and free kicks, what have you. And Matty Ryan, he's a good stopper, hell of a good stopper, I think.
Yeah.
But he didn't fit the culture. He didn't fit that sweeper, keeper, knocking the ball to feet kind of mould. He would get it and really give it some violence. And I don't think, I think that's why they fell out with his teammates, because obviously they were drilled by Potter to keep the ball, love the ball, but Matty would get it and just leather it.
The thing is, he's gone on loan, isn't he? He's not even played.
And see, look, my guys at work are big Arsenal. One of them was going up to lockdown. He follows them really closely, and he was surprised they signed him. He said it doesn't fit Arsenal either. As a backup, fine, but he'll never be a frontline keeper. They've signed him as a body. He's obviously gone cheaply, I think, but he's not a knock it to either full back first. He'd rather punt it up the field. So that's why they moved him, I think.
Is he in the last sort of period of his contract, or is he still got quite a bit left?
He's got 18 months, I think. He's not to go yet, but they've obviously realised that the people coming through would be a better fit. And I think, as you say, like Mark said earlier, with the whole culture of bringing through a really good youth side and a kind of sort of younger emphasis, I think if you're going to do it, get on with it.
Do you think he's going to come back and then be sold then, probably?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And after that interview he gave as well, I think there's no coming back.
That's signed his fate, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Basically, just said Brighton's a stepping stone, and he wants to move into bigger things. That's his whole intention from signing from day one. And you don't say that hoping with the intention to go back and fulfill the rest of your contract out. Say latest to that one.
To be fair, he has got a point. I mean, Brighton is a stepping stone.
It's been pleasant up to now. Don't start. Don't go down that road.
What's that? 30 minutes without one of them.
I was going to say I was quite impressed with them. Yeah, well done.
Just going to move it on to. I think Ben might be having a toilet stop by the looks of it. But let's talk about Kabay, and it's quite fitting that you've got that shirt behind you.
Shocking.
And I don't think. I mean, Palace were very, very fortunate to have got him. And he was unreal for us for 2 or 3 seasons. And I mean, some of the goals, some of the contributions that the guy made. I mean, it was a masterpiece from Pardew to put him as a defensive midfielder, but kind of floating back and forward.
And also, Steve,
and I don't think we've ever replaced him, if I'm being honest.
Our best.
But what I'd like to go and say on record, there was a couple of tweets of mine back in the day when he was at Palace saying that I don't really rate him. To be honest, you don't realise what you've got until it's gone. And that guy was a maverick, man, to be honest. I'll go back and eat my words. An absolute legend of a player. And we greatly missed him and never replaced him, which is a big, massive...
Our best centre mid was Jimmy Mack and Kabay by a mile. The pair of them worked together so well. But they both fought for every ball, and some of the football that I watched in that season was incredible.
And that goes without saying. I mean, the goal we scored against Arsenal. I mean, what a goal! What a goal that was.
Where has he gone to? Sorry, excuse my ignorance. Where's Kabay gone to?
He went to France first. I think he went to Saint Etienne, and then he went to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And he's just announced his retirement.
He's not very old, is he? He's only mid-30s, isn't he?
I think he's 30. What's he, 34 now?
I would say, yeah. Maybe he's feeling it and he's called it a day rather than dropping down leagues. Yeah. He's going out on a high, isn't he?
I mean, really. I mean, he dropped down the league going to Palace, so kind of. You know,
do you know what? I was expecting something like that.
So yeah, no, it's a real shame that he's retired, but an amazing player. But the thing is, he was the core, you know, the spine of the team, you know, and players like Glenn Murray and players like Andy Johnson, we've never replaced that aspect. We've never found someone who can score 15, 20 goals. We haven't got anyone in midfield who's got that creativity or the equivalent of creativity. And I think, Palace, you know, need a massive overhaul. We need a lot of players. There's a lot of players out of contract, but we're going to need to find a new spine, I think.
Yeah.
Exo
spine. One's got a bit of power in it.
Well, you got Gyro with his contract extension. It's just getting him a man beside him. I'm not entirely sure that Luca's going to be that man. But saying that, I think Luca's played a lot better the last couple of games that I've watched him. And we'll see against Brighton. We'll see how much passion we got left, how much pride we got left. I'm really hoping for him.
What, Milivojevic?
Yeah.
That's a bit of tumbleweed. Wait there.
What's just going off piece, Mike, Rob? The quality of your free kicks and corners. What are they like? Because at Palace they're absolutely horrific. Other than Eze, when he gets on the ball, he can, you know, he's knocked into wonderful free kicks. Milivojevic cannot even beat the first man. So I'm interested to see what the level and quality of your set plays is.
Our free kicks not great. Our free kicks haven't been that great. Corners at the beginning of the season, we had this frustrating habit of like knocking them short and then going back to the halfway line. They stopped that. delivering some good balls into the box, but like it's normally on the head of Webster or Dan Burn. Dan Burn couldn't score if he was sitting on the line and the goalie is up the other end of the pitch. And Webster's injured, so our main threat's going to come from, like you say, Duncan. You know, that sort of real threat.
But it's like us. We've got a lot of big centre backs, and the delivery is always so poor. And it's like we have such a good chance to create a good opportunity, and it just goes to waste.
Yeah,
I don't think Brighton are struggling because Potter doesn't want to rely on them. I think Potter do the open play winning, not set piece winning, which is, I think, is fair enough. But there is times when you do actually have to lump the ball in the box, as you say. You watch any Premier League game and nobody can clear the first post or that edge of that 60-yard box. Nobody can. It's just like, it's not difficult. It's what, 30 yards?
Yeah.
You can't loft the ball in 30 yards, you're in trouble, really. But yeah, I think Potter, what Mike says, I think Potter wants to really play it in, not rely on set pieces, free kicks, corners, and throw-ins. He wants to actually play it in.
Do you see Potter being the long-term future of Brighton as it stands, or do you think that a bad run of form could see the end of him?
I think when he signed, it was always with the intention, reading between the lines, that he was a long-term appointment. But obviously, things in football, you know, contracts change, don't they? But probably the main danger is going to be if anyone else sort of came in and got him. He's kind of said he's just seen all his jobs as like a project, Austin, Swansea, and like now at Brighton. So I think Tony Bloom's kind of wants this investment in youth. He spent 70 million on our academy, and he wants to see players coming through, which is one thing Chris Hughton weren't really doing. So I think that's in my mind. I think is a long term, not a short term appointment. I don't know what Rob thinks.
No, I agree completely. If you look at the training ground over at Lancing, it's beautiful. It is almost like Barcelona-esque. It's wonderful. Inside training grounds, you've got 3G pitches, all heated, and that's predominantly where a lot of our debt is because they brought the land at Lancing to create the academy, to get the kids through. And if you look at what Potter did at Swansea, bringing the youngsters through, and how he moulded that team into a proper unit, I think, as well, what benefits Brighton is Tony Bloom's actually quite young. He's sort of our kind of age. He's not an old chairman by any stretch. I think, I'm hoping, he sees Potter as a sort of long-term investment. Maybe not beyond 5 years. I don't know. I don't think over 10 years, but certainly to a point where we end up like Southampton, like kind of almost like an Arsenal, really. I think before we get to someone like Man City status with the money that they've got, but you would expect us to get within that kind of realm within sort of 4 to 5 years, if, as Mike says, he gets left alone to do it. And as you get thumped 3 or 4 times in a row, you kind of, is he the right man? But I think Tony Bloom, being the gambler, I'm hoping he gambles on him and sort of leaves him in place.
Because what's he got, a 6-year contract, isn't it, or something silly like that?
It's a long time, yeah. He's only 18 months into it, 2 years into it now. It's the second season, top one.
Yeah, because Mike Ashley did a similar thing with Pardew, and Pardew's 8-year contract only just finished in the summer of last year, and he was still being paid despite moving on to about 2 or 3 other clubs.
Oh, I love Mike. Oh, genius.
What I want to say to you, Steve, is if we get a result against Brighton, will it overshadow the problems that we have at Palace?
Definitely, I'll say.
I think it will appease the fans. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. It doesn't matter what any opposing fans say or anything like that. This is the biggest game of our season. Every season, while we've both been in the Premier League at the same time, it's our biggest game because the rivalry is there, and the rivalry each year for me, and the way I see it is it becomes more and more ingrained, more embedded, and more kind of enhanced in terms of people's views and just that kind of. I mean, there's a lot of banter, but there's also a lot of kind of aggression and bolshiness that you see, especially on social media. But if we win Monday night, I think for the time being it would appease the fans a little bit. It would take the pressure off of Hodgson somewhat, and would give a bit of a good feeling. Whether or not that happens, I'm not sure. I hope it does, just like them boys hope it does their way. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
So something needs to happen. We need to show up for a game sooner or later.
Yeah, what needs to happen is not hold our breath.
Alex, do you want to change the shirt on the background for Wilf, and we're going to move the subject matter over to one of Brighton's biggest pain points of recent years.
Don't do it.
Oh,
Is he a burner shirt? Is there going to be some kind of ceremonial burning?
hey. So we're going to talk a bit about Wilf. I mean, obviously, it's looking more unlikely than likely that he's going to be there Monday, which is a real shame, obviously, for us. But, you know, a big part of what we do and a big part of that kind of, you know, especially recent rivalries has been Wilf. And I know that Brighton fans, you know, they detest him. Let's be honest. You know, what is it about him that you guys don't seem to appreciate? No one seems to sort of step back. I mean, for me, if Wilf played for, I don't know, Liverpool, or we played for Arsenal, whatever, for me, as a football person, I'd sit back and go, do you know what a quality player. I appreciate the talent he's got. But it just seems like for Brighton fans, they've got this real hatred towards him. What do you think it's, you know, boils down to, and the reason?
He's just too good for you.
This is my first. It's my first time on the podcast. Can we swear? For me, he's just a cocky bastard. He just seems to, in a nice way. Yeah, if I was a neutral fan watching him play football, the way he plays with energy, he cares, give or take, when he so wishes, he is a good player. He can be a hell of a player. But with us, I don't know what it is, but he just seems to want to really ram it home with Brighton, doesn't he, Mike? He just seems to revel in winding us up. I don't know why. I don't know what it is exactly we did when he was younger. Perhaps someone brought
rivalry.
He didn't want it.
Yeah,
I
think
perhaps he understands the rivalry more than the other players.
Yeah,
I think exactly that. I think the fact is he knows what this game means. I think I saw an interview with him where he said that they asked what is his greatest moment, and he's like scoring goals in the playoffs in their backyard, you know, and going to Wembley. Like nothing else in his career other than that moment. So he knows what it means, and I guess I'm a little bit sort of controversial in Brighton fans. Is I would have him at our club because he is such a good player.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, of course he would.
An amazingly talented player, but I think that's it. I think the fact he gets it, the fact on social media, there's always our fans going to him and going, you dive and whatever, and you know, and he gives it back, and that's what happened. And I think in some ways, Lewis Dunk is a similar sort of figure for you guys. In the fact that he's come all the way through the youth team, and you know he knows what this game means. You can see it on the pitch how pumped they get when we score or you score, you know. And I think that's what it is. I don't think it's anything else. You know, I don't think it's got anything to do with his ability or his standards as a player. I think it's purely that side of it myself.
Yeah.
Do you think that when he plays against you, I mean, I know there's a big saying that goes around, he is just too good for you, but I think he's just too good for anyone. When he's on his days, he's unbelievable. But do you think there's a kind of mindset with the Brighton team that when he does play, you just can't deal with him, basically? Do you think that's what it is?
Any player of that caliber, no club can cope with him. That's why I signed him. But obviously saw something in him. There is that little Grealish moment in there that he can do something special. But as Mike said, I think he just understands, just gets the game. Brighton Palace, he gets it, and he just makes the effort, even if it's just for a split second. He'll just do it just because he can with that one game. But I think, any player of his caliber, someone like him or a Grealish, club's going to struggle to properly contain him. When he turns up, puts his mind to it, he is a good player, and that really hurts.
I think that he will contact players and get them hyped for this game.
Do you know it'd be a good thing to Palace do? Actually, get him in the dressing room before the game and just get him to like have a little chat. And
no, I can't. It's COVID. He can't. It's COVID.
You're open.
COVID rules. He can't travel. Sorry, mate. That's what it is.
Thank Croydon.
Yeah. And it's ironic because you see someone like him, and when he does have that passion, and you see someone like Hodgson who doesn't have that passion, you can see where it's going wrong for you. That's what.
Well, what I want to say to you is it better to beat Palace with him or without him?
In either, really.
Yeah, I don't think
11's are hard. Sorry, Mike.
I don't think it matters. I think just winning. That's
Winning.
Whether he's on the pitch or not. Obviously, if he's on, then people are going to go to him on social media and put score up. That's going to happen. But I think for both sets of fans, it's a winning. You don't care who's on the pitch.
Yeah.
There's no excuses, no whatever. That's the result, and one set of fans going to be happy, and the other fan's going to be depressed. That's how it is.
I think what I mean is you want to beat our best 11, don't you? We want to beat your best 11, and surely you want to beat our best 11.
No, just want to beat you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, boys. Obviously, we're talking about Wilf and his unreal ability and how he gets underneath your skin. I mean, equally, someone like Dunk, he gets the game, he gets the rivalry, and he's kind of been brought up to understand that. But I'm interested to understand why does Dunk score so many own goals? I mean,
What, on and off the pitch? What, on and off the pitch?
Yeah. Mike and I grew up at
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So Mike and I grew up, and Lewis Dunk's dad, Mark Dunk, played football in and around Brighton growing up. And his dad was always a striker, ironically, whereas Lewis has always been a centre-half. But unlike his dad, I don't think Lewis concentrates. Because Arsenal was sniffing around him a couple of years ago when we first come up. And they didn't take him. They wanted him. But it's just that moment of concentration. That, on a serious note, not just the own goals, but now and again, he wants to carry the ball forwards, but he just doesn't. That split second of concentration goes, and he kind of loses, and that, I think, it's his only downside. Obviously,
do you think the responsibility lies with him too much, though? Like with a Wilf for Palace, that he feels it all, that he has to be the someone that saves the day or makes something.
Yeah. Literally Brighton born and bred. I think his dad grew up in Whitehall, didn't he? Mike, was he in Whitehall?
Yeah.
Isn't he one of the top own goal scorers of all time? Isn't he, or something silly like that?
Probably. Yeah, what about right? Actually,
I think the other thing with him though is like he literally, like when he's defending, he put like his body in the line. So if someone's taking a shot, he will dive. I mean, there's one famous one where in the Championship when he saved a shot with like his head on the floor, So I think like a lot of the balls come off him and go past the keeper in that way. So I think will also level the own goals things.
Like JTX, like he'll just do anything to get in front of the ball.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a blocker. Yeah, he is. He will. And again, that's because he's Brighton born and bred. His dad and the connection to the club and the area and the fans and stuff. His dad doesn't go in the clubhouse. He goes in the stands and watches still, because that's how they connect as a family. So,
how many times has Lewis Dunk been lying on the floor though? It's quite an interesting stat as well to understand.
I think quite a lot. Here we go. Have you got something on your web page, haven't you?
We're coming towards the end of the show. Let's just get everyone's feelings on the score and what everyone feels the outcome is. Mike, what are you thinking, mate?
I'm thinking 1-0 to us. I think it's going to be a tight game. Like not, our finishing's bad, your finishing's bad, and I think just a 1-0.
Robert?
Oh, cricket score. We're going to tonk you up at least. I don't know. I think it's going to be quite tight. I think it might be like a 2-1.
That's what I was going to say.
Looking at some of the odds, I mean, you are what 13-5 to win. We're 4-5 on. I think we'll win it, but I don't think it'll be a massive gap. I think it'll be a close game. I think there will be a sending off. I think Alex mentioned it earlier. That's because some of the players do good at it, some of them don't. But it'll be close. But it'll be like either 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah.
Boys, are we still sticking by what we thought it was in the last show?
Yeah,
I'm
going to say we're going to score a goal, and it's going to be 2-1 Brighton.
I think it's going to be 0-0, Steve. 0-0.
I'm thinking that we might actually see an appearance from Wilf, and I think it might be 1-0 again.
I'll say a draw. I'll take a draw as well.
I wouldn't want to win.
Definitely, given how we are, given the form that we've got, I'd definitely take a point. Obviously, I'll take any win, just so I can just be straight on Rob and Mike, which thrills me to do that. But given the way that we are at the moment, I'll take a point. To be fair.
If you win, I'm having trouble with my internet about 10
I
o'clock.
think I might have to suspend my account for a couple of days. I think I'm never the last of it.
I don't know. These wet wipes out, then that deactivate. I mean, God.
It's only fair. It's only fair.
All right. Well, you've been listening to Eagles on Air via the Sportanarium stream. Thanks ever so much for coming on tonight, Mike and Rob. Feel free to give these guys a follow. They're good lads, with the exception of the fact they support Brighton, but they can give it and they can take it. The banter's there. Definitely worth a follow. And thanks for joining us again as usual, Al and Ben.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
See you later.
Cheers, boys.